Good morning, YouTube. Chopper Fett here today, and welcome to my initial motovlogging episode. Thank you for joining me on my channel here today as I start kind of keeping that video vlog of some adventures, some upgrades, a little bit of everything here on the channel. So again, I go by Chopper Fett, and let's get to it. Roll that intro. Alright, as you can see, this is actually episode 1 of the Chopper Fett YouTube channel. The topic of choice today would be, how did I get into motorcycles to begin with? So I think that's a very fitting conversation to start off with anyway. So my love for all things mechanical dates back to my years in high school. Is when I started getting into cars and vehicles, and I've always kind of listened to motorcycles, liked motorcycles, but never was actually, had that desire to ride a motorcycle. And so, my brother at the Flying Frittata, as you can see here, somewhere, he's the one who probably pushed me the most into getting a motorcycle. Never was like a, hey, you gotta do this type, but more like a port for it. He started on a Honda Shadow 750, I believe, and from there he's graduated to everything Harley and above. He convinced me that, if I was to get something along those lines, like a Honda Shadow or even like a Sportster, given my frame build and size, that I would be trading it in within a year. So he's the one who convinced me that if I was going to go this Harley Davidson route, to at least get something a little bit bigger for me. And that's how I ended up on my 2009 lowrider. Now, as far as how I came to be on this lowrider, I would have to give credit on that one to my friend Harley Woods. Basically, I met him through a former work friend of mine. So I had known her for over 10 years, and she married him. And when I said I was interested in getting a motorcycle, she stated what her husband rode, and he'd be willing to help out. That blossomed into a wonderful, awesome friendship, as he helped me locate my first motorcycle. I was looking at all things. I was looking at Softails, Dynas. Never was I actually interested in the bagger per se. I am kind of now, given that's what my brother rides. But I just always wanted something on that sportier feel without it being a sport bike. And I thought this was the best case scenario for all those. 2016, when I actually purchased this lowrider, that was before the Dyna name was being discontinued, so prices were at kind of like an all-time low for Dynas, I feel like, because I was able to pick up this lowrider. It was 7 years old at the time, had 12,000 miles on it at the time, and I purchased it for $6,500 cash. I just thought it was a great deal. My friend also agreed. He's the one who actually test rode it for me, because when I bought the bike, I did not know how to ride a motorcycle, which is a funny story in itself, because I seem to repeat past behavior. One of my first new car purchase that I bought way back in 2003 or so was a stick shift car, and I had no idea how to drive a stick shift. But I bought it on a whim, thinking, if I don't like it, I'll be able to sell it, get most of my money back, and chalk it up to a learning experience. But so my buddy Harley Woods ended up riding that motorcycle home for me. Well, actually to his home. He was kind enough to store it in his garage for the first winter, as my living conditions at those times didn't really allow me to store the motorcycle. I had a garage, but the garage was kind of on the falling apart side, and it's just that if you like spiders or anything else, you weren't kind of like storing it in there. So he rode it back for me. It was probably about a 75-mile trip that he rode it back for me. So he stored it at his place, and I proceeded to take the motorcycle safety course in the fall of 2016. And ever since then, it's just been two wheels as much as I can. I do have a wife and kid at home, so as much as I can is a very fractional as far as some other people in my life. But hey, I'll take what I can get. And good Lord, it's a 50 and we're going 45. Anyway, he got the bike home. I did the motorcycle safety course. After I took the course, I think the most that I did on the bike as far as riding that first, end of fall 16 was I did a little bit of friction zone training in his driveway. And that was really about it. And then in the spring of 2017, when everything finally started to melt, he rode it to a empty parking lot for me to get my bearings on and test it, because it's been 6 months since I had rode a Rebel 250 in the training course. So I did that, and then I started riding through his neighborhood, and I got a loop set up through his neighborhood, nothing over 25, 30 miles per hour, so it was a great little loop to get kind of used to being around traffic and things along those lines. Well, then one day he's like, "Hey, let's go on a ride together." I was like, I'm not ready for group rides, man." He's like, "Yeah, it'll be okay." So he took me on a little bit extended loop from what I was used to doing, which got me onto my first main public road. It was only at 40 miles per hour. Not much different than what I was used to, but it was definitely at that moment that I was like, yes, this is definitely what I love. Just to ride with someone else is an awesome feeling. And we've been on a few different journeys together since that time. Not as many as we like, of course, but at least a few. So my first main riding season came in 2017. My first major ride was riding my bike over to the new storage facility, which was my dad at HD Fat Boy Bob into his garage, because again, my garage situation was so gross. You ain't stick green for me? Nope, of course not. So, rode to his house. That was my first 30-mile journey at one time. Took all side streets. Took about an hour, and needless to say, I was so very proud of myself during that. I can't believe I just rode from one side of this town to the other, and to see his face, he was actually really shocked when I showed up there. So my dad, because I got mine, I think he had always had the itch as well to ride a motorcycle. And I think me getting mine kind of pushed him over the top. I think he had taken my brother's bikes out on down the street rides in the past, but once he saw I had mine, he was like, I want the same sort of thing. So he was able to find a 2002 Fat Boy, and he found it for an incredible deal himself. Key thing is, we bought both of our motorcycles in pretty much the off season. Save you guys some thousands of dollars sometimes. But when he added up the total amount of aftermarket parts because his bike is chromed out. I mean, there's not a, if it can be chromed on his bike, it is chromed. But basically the price of all of those parts put together is about the amount that he paid for the entire bike. So he basically bought a bunch of upgraded parts and got a free motorcycle with it. So then I just proceeded to ride that year with him every now and then. We both got a little bit more confident. My next longest ride was, again, with Harley Woods, and he met me up at the local Harley dealership, Rawhide Harley. I was living about 5 miles from there at the time, or the bike was parked about 5 miles from there at the time. And we get there, he's like, let's go get some coffee. I'm like, cool, let's go get some coffee. I was like, where do you want to get it from? He's like, Bonner Springs. I'm like, what? That's like a ways away. He's like, it'll be fine. And so that was my first highway experience. Now, the highway was set at a 65-mile-per-hour speed limit, and I will be the first to say, do not ride outside of your comfort zone. So I rode out there at 60 miles per hour. I could tell I was being slow, but that was my first time experiencing that kind of wind pressure against me. I had gotten up to about 45 and 50 very comfortably, but that 60 miles per hour with traffic all around me, that was a new experience. So we made it to Bonner just fine, and by the time I got back home, we took the exact same highway. I was doing 70, and it was like it was no big deal. It's just getting that initial experience out from under your belt. From there, Dad and I rode quite a bit together. Used hand signals the best we can. As at that point in time, we did not have any sort of communication devices. We just had to hopefully be able to communicate what we wanted to with each other. And that's actually who I'm going to go visit right now. We'll pick up this video after I say hello.
A few moments later.
So I rode through the 2017 season, and my wife has really expressed interest in it as well. My wife had expressed interest in riding as well, and she wanted to ride her own. She didn't want to ride two up on mine, which I was okay with that because I will support her in whatever she wants to do. So we started looking around for her a bike as well. 2006 Sportster. 883, the guy claims it's a 1200, but I don't know. I don't feel like we would have got it for the price we did if it was an actual conversion on it. Anyway, we got it for $2,500, had 12,000 miles on it as well. It was a really good buy, and it's been a great bike for her so far. Nope. We brought that in 2018 for her in the fall, or actually more so the winter. The reason it was definitely winter, it was 28 degrees outside. There was some wet roads. But the guy said, oh yeah, you can leave me the money here and just come pick it up this weekend when it's supposed to be like 40. I'm like, I trust the guy, but I didn't trust the guy. So I rode that bike home in very frigid conditions. I had probably 3 jackets on, 3 layers of pants, and it was still very cold. Her bike had a battery problem, which if I had known that at the time, I probably would have waited on purchasing it. He said it was a brand new battery. Well, it was not. And basically, if the bike would turn off after being jumped, you wouldn't be able to restart it. So luckily, I did not stall it on the way home that day. Otherwise, I would have been big time SOL on it. turns out the battery was 8 years old. And those are the things that you can take a guy's word on, but I'm not going to dig in on a battery issue when I'm purchasing a motorcycle. So that's how my family and I have all kind of gathered into riding. If you like this episode, be sure to give it a like. I'm not going to tell you guys to subscribe. You don't even have to hit the like button. I really don't care. Really, the point of me doing this is to start kind of journaling for my kid, so once he's older and realizes some of the things, he'll have some, if he finds his dad entertaining, some sort of entertainment to look at. So for this episode, this is Chopper Fett, and I'm signing out very slowly behind this minivan. See ya.